There is a United States territory in the Pacific where the government will give you land, a house, and a monthly stipend just to show up. No, this is not a timeshare scam. It is a place so remote that America basically forgot it exists. And now they are desperate for anyone willing to live there. Everyone thinks the United States territories are just Puerto Rico and maybe Guam. But here is what nobody tells you. Scattered across the Pacific and Caribbean are American territories so isolated and so desperate for population that they are offering deals that sound like typos. We are counting down 12 forgotten United States islands where living costs approach zero. Some will literally pay you to exist there. One place has more sea turtles than permanent residents. Another is so remote your mail comes by military transport every 3 months. Think you know America's territories? Let us see if you are ready for places where citizenship comes with free housing. But Amazon Prime does not deliver. Like this video if you realize the best deals in America are not in America proper. Subscribe because this channel is your territorial relocation guide with actual research. Let us break it down. Number 12, American Samoa. American Samoa will let you live on some of the most beautiful islands in the Pacific for costs so low you will think the economy broke. And in some ways, it did. American Samoa sits about 2,600 miles southwest of Hawaii with around 55,000 people across 5 main islands. It is the only U.S. territory south of the equator. People born here are U.S. nationals, not citizens, unless they naturalize. This legal quirk exists to protect traditional land systems. The islands are stunning, with rainforests, volcanic peaks, and coral reefs. But the economy has struggled since the tuna canneries started closing. Here is what it costs. Median home price, $150,000. Most land is communally owned through for Samoa system rent, $600 to $800 monthly cost of living, 30% higher for goods, but housing is dramatically lower. The catch is cultural. You are not just moving to a cheap tropical island. You are moving into a culture with deep traditions and complex social hierarchies. Village meetings last hours. Contributing to community events is expected. Land tenure depends on maintaining good relationships. Someone who lived there said American Samoa is cheap if you integrate into Samoa, but that means accepting that land ownership depends entirely on relationships. You are not buying into paradise. You are being adopted by it. Picture yourself in a fail with ocean views. Your rent is $700. Fresh fish costs almost nothing. Then you need a laptop part and realize the nearest Best Buy is 2,600 miles away and your package has been in transit for 6 weeks. Number 11, Northern Mariana Islands. The Northern Mariana Islands offer tropical island living for less than most mainland apartments. Assuming you can handle World War II ruins everywhere and questionable economic prospects, this Commonwealth includes 14 islands with about 57,000 people, mostly on site. It is closer to Asia than to America, which explains why most Americans have no idea it exists. The beaches have sand so white it hurts to look at. Jungle so dense you could get lost 50 feet from a road. And every few hundred yards there is a Japanese bunker or American tank slowly being reclaimed by vegetation. Here's the cost breakdown. Median home price, $200,000 rent, $800 to $1,200. Monthly cost of living, 25% above mainland power is expensive and water can be unreliable. The catch is infrastructure. Power outages are common enough that you stop being surprised. Internet is slower than you can imagine. but your apartment overlooks turquoise water and costs half of what you paid for a studio in California. Someone who moved there said they have all the benefits of paradise and all the challenges of living somewhere the mainland forgot 30 years ago. Picture yourself on a beach at sunset. The water is impossibly blue. To your left is a rusting Japanese tank. Your rent is $900, but electricity is $300 because power is expensive 6,000 miles from the mainland. Number 1. U.S. Virgin Islands tax incentives. The U.S. Virgin Islands will not give you free housing, but tax incentive programs can reduce your effective costs dramatically if you qualify. The territory includes St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix with about 105,000 residents. The Economic Development Commission offers tax incentives that can reduce income taxes to nearly nothing. Here is the situation. Median home price, $350,000 rent, $1,500 to $2,500. Monthly cost of living, 26% above mainland, but qualifying residents may pay only 4% income tax. When you are paying 4% income tax instead of 37%, housing effectively costs a fraction. Someone who relocated said they pay more for groceries and rent, but keep an extra $40,000 yearly in tax savings. They are basically getting paid tens of thousands to live in paradise. The catch is hurricanes. Hurricane Maria devastated parts of the islands in 2017. Insurance is expensive. Every June, you watch weather patterns with obsessive intensity. Picture yourself on your deck overlooking Caribbean waters. Your tax rate dropped from 35% to 4%. Then hurricane season starts and you are filling sandbags while calculating if tax savings are worth the existential dread. Number 9. Guam military housing. Guam will not give you free housing, but military personnel and defense contractors can access housing at rates so subsidized they are essentially living free. Guam is America's strategic Pacific outpost with about 170,000 people. It is a major military hub with significant Air Force and Navy presence. Here is the breakdown. Median home price, $400,000 for civilians. Military housing is provided at no-cost defense. Contractors often receive $2,000 to $3,000 monthly allowances. Civilian rent $1,500 to $2,500 monthly. If you are military or a contractor, your housing may be provided or your compensation covers it completely. You are effectively living for free while earning mainland or better wages. The catch is you are 6,000 miles from the mainland. Traffic is absurd. Guam is 30 miles long with traffic rivaling Los Angeles. And brown tree snakes are everywhere, appearing in places snakes should not be. A contractor said Guam pays better than the mainland with housing covered. They are banking serious money but have not seen family in 80 months. Picture your housing completely covered by your employer. You are saving $2,500 monthly. Then you spend 90 minutes in traffic driving 12 miles and a snake falls from your ceiling during a video call. Number 8. American Samoa village integration. This focuses on village housing where costs can approach zero if you fully commit to FA Samoa. In this traditional system, land is controlled by families and villages through complex kinship networks. If you marry in or contribute significantly to village life, you can be granted use rights to land. Here is the reality. Land use, potentially free through integration. Construction, $30,000 to $80,000 for a basic home monthly. Costs, under $500 if you live simply job market. almost non-existent inside villages. Village living means participating fully. You attend meetings that last hours. You contribute financially and physically to events. You respect chiefs who hold real authority. Individual autonomy matters less than community harmony. Someone who attempted this said it was the cheapest living ever and the most socially complex. Land was free. But they were expected at every function and asked to contribute $500 to a wedding they had not budgeted for. Saying no is not really an option. Picture yourself building a home on family land for $40,000 with monthly costs under $400. Then, you are expected at a 6-hour village meeting and a communal workday in brutal heat. Sometimes the cheapest option costs everything except traditional rent. Number 7, Johnston Atoll. Johnston Atoll is so restricted that technically you cannot live there, but it represents the extreme end of forgotten America. Johnston sits about 800 miles southwest of Hawaii, covers less than 3 square miles, and has 0 permanent residents. It has been a U.S. possession since 1858. It was used for nuclear testing and chemical weapons storage. Now it is a national wildlife refuge closed to public access. Here is the reality. Current population: 0 humans, millions of seabirds access, completely closed to civilians' historical use. Nuclear and chemical weapons programs infrastructure, abandoned buildings, slowly deteriorating. If access ever opened, you would need complete self-sufficiency. For now, there is no public access. A researcher who visited on permit described it as the most beautiful and haunting place they had seen. Abandoned buildings, pristine beaches, complete isolation. Johnston represents the theoretical extreme where living costs could be 0 because there is no economy. You cannot move there. This entry shows how many territories Americans have forgotten. Number 6, Palmyra Atoll research positions. Palmyra is slightly more accessible than Johnston for scientists. If you are qualified, you might get a research position that includes free housing. Palmyra sits about 1,000 miles south of Hawaii. It is privately owned but designated a national wildlife refuge. There are between 4 and 20 researchers there depending on season. The Nature Conservancy manages it for conservation research. Here's the deal for researchers. Costs: 0 for housing and food positions. Temporary. Weeks to months requirements, scientific credentials, and clear project justification. Population on station: around a dozen people. There is no economy, no services, no option to just move there. You are there for research and basic communal housing. A researcher who spent 3 months said it offered incredible marine research in the most challenging living situation. No phone, no internet. If something goes wrong, medically, evacuation can take days. Picture yourself on Palmyra. Housing is free. Food is provided. Then you get sick and realize the nearest hospital is 3 days away by boat. Number 5. Wake Island contractor positions. Wake Island is restricted, but civilian access exists through military contractor positions. Those positions include housing and food, making it effectively free living while you bank your salary. Wake is a coral atoll about 2,300 miles west of Hawaii. It saw intense fighting during World War II and now serves as an emergency landing site with a small military and contractor population. Here is the Wake deal. Housing and meals, provided at no-cost salaries. $50,000. to $80,000 contracts, 6 months to a year population, about 100 people expenses, nothing to spend money on. The appeal is that you can bank your entire paycheck. No rent, no groceries, no expenses. You finish a contract with savings that will take years elsewhere. Someone who worked a year said it was the best savings year and most monotonous of their life. They saved $60,000 but watched every movie twice. By month 10, they questioned their sanity. Picture finishing a shift. You are paid well. Housing is free. Then you watch the same sunset you have seen for 200 days. Your bank account grows while your sense of time dissolves. Number 4. Midway Atoll positions. Midway is famous for the World War II battle. Today, it is a national wildlife refuge with extremely limited positions that include free housing. Midway sits at the northwestern end of the Hawaiian archipelago, about 1,300 miles from Honolulu. It has fewer than 60 people, mostly U.S. Fish and Wildlife employees and contractors. Here is the setup. Housing and meals, provided as part of employment salaries, federal pay scales contracts, months, 2 years population, tiny, everyone knows, everyone's job market. Non-existence outside refuge operations. Positions are rare, but include refuge management and maintenance. Someone who worked 18 months said it was incredible for history buffs, but brutal for anyone needing variety. Personality conflicts became major issues because you could not escape them. Cabin fever became a medical concern. Also, Midway has the world's largest Laysan albatross colony. Hundreds of thousands of birds everywhere. You will dream about albatrosses. You will smell like them. Picture yourself on Midway. Rent is 0. You are walking where the Battle of Midway was fought. Then you realize you have had the same conversation with the same 12 people for the 4th week. Number 3. Puerto Rico recovery programs. Puerto Rico is not offering widespread free housing, but post-hurricane recovery programs in rural areas have created situations where costs drop to nearly nothing. After Hurricane Maria in 2017, rural areas depopulated as residents fled to the mainland. Some communities now offer extremely cheap housing or land access to people willing to help rebuild. Here is the situation. Some municipalities offer cheap or free land for people committing to build. Abandoned homes can be acquired cheaply through sweat equity. Structurally sound homes under $50,000 in recovering areas cost of living 5% higher than mainland. But housing dramatically cheaper. The challenge is that infrastructure is still recovering. Power is unreliable to the point of being a lifestyle factor. Outages are frequent. In rural areas, power can be out for weeks. Someone who relocated said they got property for almost nothing, but they function without reliable power for weeks at a time regularly. They learned the rainwater collection, generator maintenance, and cooking on gas when electricity is out. Picture a rural home you acquired for $30,000. Mountains surround you. Then power goes out for the 8th time this month and your generator runs out of fuel. Number 2. Howland and Baker Islands. Howland and Baker Islands are tiny, uninhabited ATOs representing the most forgotten U.S. territory. Both are part of the U.S. minor outlying islands Howland is famous as the island Amelia Earhart was trying to reach when she disappeared in 1937. Both are national wildlife refuges closed to public access. Here is the reality. Current population, 0 humans access, completely closed to civilians conditions, exposed coral, no fresh water, no vegetation beyond scrub survival. Nearly impossible. These islands sit barely above sea level with no resources. They are significant for their emptiness, and because Earhart's disappearance made Howland historically important. A researcher who visited described them as some of the most remote and harsh places under U.S. jurisdiction. Brutal, son. No resources. Picture an exposed coral reef that is technically American territory. No structure, no water, no food. Your housing cost is 0 because housing is a concept that does not apply. Number 1. Nassau Island. Nassau Island takes the top spot as the most forgotten United States territory where living would technically be free because absolutely nobody is there. Nassau sits between Jamaica and Haiti, covers about 2 square miles of mostly steep cliffs, and is one of the most disputed U.S. possessions. It is claimed by Haiti, but administered by the United States as a wildlife refuge completely closed to public access. Here is the Nassau reality. Current population, 0 access, requires federal permits, almost never granted. Historical use. Guano mining in the 1800s. Brutal enough to cause worker uprisings to reign. Steep cliffs, dangerous landing, hostile to human presence if you somehow obtain permission. Housing would be whatever shelter you could create from century-old mining ruins. There is no fresh water anywhere, no food except what you catch, no shelter except ruins, no rescue if anything goes wrong. A scientist who visited said Nassau was spectacularly beautiful and genuinely dangerous. The idea of living there is insane because you would be completely on your own with no safety nets. Picture yourself on the... You have complete solitude that humans almost never experience. 0 cost! Then you realize you are trapped with no water, no food, and no way off until the next Coast Guard visit, which might be in 6 months. Sometimes the cheapest option is priceless because the actual cost is everything, including possibly your life. We just counted down 12 forgotten United States territories, where cheap living ranges from realistic to theoretical. Like this video, if you learned America owns islands you will never visit. Subscribe because knowing which territories are accessible versus which are seabird colonies might save you from an expensive mistake. These territories are real. Housing costs range from low to not, and most Americans will never know they are options because forgotten means exactly that.